just throw the money in
check
there.
cashing places.
The whole idea of money is fucking terrifying. Ones and zeros and fucking decimal points.
I like the thing about gold, how like when somebody hands you a gold coin, not that I've never actually made that much money where somebody hands me a gold coin, but when you look at one in a store and they hand it to you, it has weight.
Right.
And you know that like it's possible this thing is thousands of years old and has no rust on it. Mm-hmm. And regardless of like what that thing is worth in terms of dollars, you know that what you have is valuable. And it's the same thing like jewelry is made out of gold and silver. And it's just something like in our like little primitive brains, we know like shiny metal that's heavy and doesn't rust has value. We can turn it into a million different things. This is money, you know? And then dollars seem like more and more ridiculous.
Well, do you know the ultimate ridiculous theory on why gold is valuable?
What?
The Zecharia Sitchin theory?
I've not heard that.
Oh, here we go down a crazy road. The ancient Sumerian text is like this cuneiform text that was written on clay tablets. And it's this really odd ancient language from about 6,000 years ago where it looks like, you ever seen like an old school nail, like a nail in a really old building?
Yeah,
they don't have a
perfectly...
It's
It's like triangular almost.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly. It's not like a tabletop with a spike. It's not like that. They're more of like a steak looking sort of a thing because they were mined out of they were iron. They were made out of iron. These fucking things. Jesus, what was my point?
Zecharia.
Oh, Zecharia said to the cuneiform. So that anyway, this is this weird series of lines, and it's all subject to interpretation. It's really difficult stuff to decipher. But this one guy, Zecharia Sitchin, who's a legitimate biblical scholar and ancient linguist. He said that the entire thing was about the Anunnaki, and that the Anunnaki were an alien race that created us. Like the engineer in the movie Prometheus.
Uh-huh.
Like this was his idea of the Anunnaki. They were these giants that created us by mixing their DNA with primate DNA.
Okay.
And that all of this was so that they could make us work for them and mine gold. Because they needed gold particles to suspend in their atmosphere to protect them from the radiation. Sounds totally retarded.
That's the answer I'm going to give when somebody asks me about religious beliefs. Just going to say
this
all that
guy.
stuff.
Here's what's crazy. This guy wrote this shit in like the 1970s, and he's a legit scholar.
Uh-huh.
So it's really difficult to argue with him. Although many other legit scholars do argue with him and completely disagree with his translations of it. But what his translation, what got really weird was, he wrote this in like 1970. In the 2000s, 2005 or 6 or something like that, they had some sort of a scientific symposium where they were trying to figure out what are their other alternative methods of protecting people from radiation if we lose our part of our atmosphere, like ozone layers and stuff like that. And they came up with suspending reflective particles in the atmosphere.
So these people back then had no idea that...
1970, they had no idea of that. Well, this Zecharia Sitchin guy certainly was no scientist in regards to how to deflect radiation. That wasn't his area of expertise. So him coming up with this as a translation from a 6,000-year-old text that was written on clay tablets is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
He's saying something that scientists figured out 30, 40 years later. And what he's saying is that reflective particles suspended in the atmosphere can protect you from radiation.
Right.
Well, the thing about gold is unlike any other metal. And this is not something that you would need back in the day when you were fucking hurting and, you had need a good metal that you can make a sword out of where you can kill people. Gold wasn't useful in that way. But what it is useful in, you could take gold dust, and a small piece of gold can make an incredible amount of this ultra-fine dust. And if gold has bizarre, almost magical properties where you can take one piece of gold and coat an incredibly wide surface with it.
It's the most, I think the word's ductile. It's the most ductile metal there is. You can bang it out into this thin little flake.
Yeah, it's an amazing metal. It's a really bizarre and amazing metal. And that it would be the perfect metal for suspending in our atmosphere to protect us from radiation. And that Earth has, a whole area where there's a lot of gold. So these aliens came down here, realized that this is a good place for them to get some gold out of. How do you do it? I don't want to. Let's make some people. Okay, let's make some people. So they grabbed some monkeys, they threw some DNA in them. It's completely ridiculous.
Well, cowboys
but it's not.
To add credibility to your theory.
Okay.
Cowboys and aliens.
Yes.
You've seen that.
Sure.
They're there to harvest gold.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't think that helps us.
I'm being sarcastic about
Ewok
I was being sarcastic about
Ewok
adding
village.
credibility.
I was looking forward to that movie so bad. But the idea was that's why we still have this thing for gold, that we were literally put on Earth to mine for gold.
So we
have
still
this
think it's
ridiculous
valuable.
connection with value.
Wow.
And then we've completely lost all of our memories of the Anunnaki, because this is thousands upon thousands
what if it's
of
less,
years ago.
What if it's less sinister than that, and it's like they came to Earth, and they're like, look, guys, we need gold for our project of the atmosphere thing. So you give us gold, and we'll give you stuff that you need. And then you have people suddenly realize, okay, gold's money, you know?
Oh, yeah. It could
So
be
that's-
that. What's interesting
I don't
about...
I don't like the idea of being an engineered, biologically engineered slave.
Well, the reason why I lean towards that, and not 100%, I mean, I don't agree with it or disagree with it, but I don't reject it as an idea simply because of the fact that the only thing that's like us is dogs. The only thing that's like us that can vary so widely by the way it looks is humans. We're the only thing that's like a dog.
Right.
Dogs vary incredibly, man. You can have
'cause
mastiffs
they
and
were bred
chihuahuas.
to- Yeah.
Because they were they were designed.
Right.
We made them. They vary because of human intervention. And, I mean, maybe it's what came first, the chicken or the egg? Maybe human innovation came and then people varied drastically. Or when they were fucking created, they made a bunch of different versions of them. They tried a little bit of this. They went with, like, Asians probably have a little more alien in them, just a touch, just a smidge. I'm Italian. I probably have a little more monkey, you know? They probably, and by the way, this is not racist to Asians, because it's better, I think, probably to be more evolved. It's better to have a little less monkey, so it's actually racist against myself. So I don't want any fucking Twitter beef over this.
Amen, Joe.
But it's ridiculous. Look, it's totally, completely ridiculous. I don't know, and I don't believe in it, but I propose it. Who the fuck knows, man? We're starting to learn all sorts of crazy shit about our past. We're starting to learn about ancient civilizations at a time where we did not think that people were capable of building anything, and they have these giant stone structures.
Ancient
that we
cities
have
in South America make no sense. Like,
No sense.
timeline-wise. That's another thing. Like, I remember going through school, and you read the textbooks about Columbus and all this basic shit. Not once in those textbooks do they mention, oh, by the way, there's some random cities in South America.
Yeah.
Built in a way that's like really doesn't make sense for that time period, and they're so far. I don't have the numbers in my mind right now, but they were so distant to everything else that it's like we don't have any idea of what that is.
Yeah,
You know?
well, not only that, there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
They're finding new ones in the jungle all the time. I mean, it was an incredible civilization that existed just a couple thousand years ago. The Mayan civilization wasn't even that long ago, and we know so little about what really happened. It's an amazing, amazing time. I watched a great documentary on National Geographic called Decoding the Maya. It's available. I bought a DVD of it. And it's all about them working on the translations of the different Mayan hieroglyphs and how difficult it is, and like trying to decipher things and the way they go about it and the scientific method they use to try to figure out what the fuck each little thing means, and fascinating stuff. I mean, they had a completely different way of writing the world. They wrote the world in pictures, and pictures that represented sounds that you would make. And they would vary. It would vary whether or not that sound was like if you had, like they would like the way it's explained. Terrence McKenna explained it. Like if you were going to write "I saw Aunt Rose," you would do an eyeball, a saw like saw, and then you would do the insect ant, and then you would do a rose. Yeah, and that would be "I saw Aunt Rose."
They also had human sacrifice.
A lot of it.
Yeah,
especially towards the end.
I read